Hey, do your food plots look like burnt cornflakes right now? It's the beginning of August, and I thought I would talk about how to drought-proof your food plots and make them resilient to this kind of weather. Stay tuned. A little bit later, I'm going to take you outside and show you some of my favorite food plot plants that are just growing around the yard here. All right, at first we're going to go over how to make your food plots resilient to drought. Okay, so we're talking about drought proofing your food plots. The number one way you can drought proof your food plot is to keep a cover crop on there. Make sure that there's plenty of plants that canopy the soil and don't let the sun beat down on that soil. Right now, if you have last year's cover crop on the soil, you can roll that down come planting time, and that'll protect the soil. And it'll break down over time, add organic matter, which brings us to the next most important thing, is increasing your organic matter percentage. Once you get your organic matter up to 5, 6, 7%, your soil will hold a lot more water. Also, if there's life in the soil and you have plenty of microbes, mycorrhizal fungi, earthworms, etc., those create pore spaces and aggregate the soil, which lets gases in and moisture in. So when it does rain, even if you get a ½ inch of rain, it all goes into the soil. So we touched on organic matter. Oh, no-till methods. When you till soil, you dry it out. You also kill all the biota in the soil. So if you can avoid it, please don't till. It's not good for your soil. Timing of planting is very important because you want to put your plants in early enough so that while there's moisture available, they can grow and canopy over and get a good sized root down so they can get down to the moisture. If you plant too late, you're liable to run out of rain and they won't make it. But on the other hand, you don't want to plant too early either. So you have to be careful about your timing. Some plants will grow at 50 degrees, some plants will grow at 65 degrees. So the best time to plant is when you have good soil temperatures of 60, 65 degrees and it looks good, in the forecast. You don't want it, a lot of times we get like a fall spring early in May around here where everybody wants to go out and plant, and that's great if you're planting corn or soybeans and you put them down 1.5 inches, 2 inches. They're protected, but we can actually have frost here in May and real cold, rainy weather, and that's not good for the larger seeds. That's okay for things like clover, but not for your large seeds. All right, so we talked about living roots in the soil, organic matter, no-till methods. I'll tell you a story about a friend of mine who's also a realtor, and he has a farm. And I often go by his farm, and as I'm looking out into the fields while I'm driving, I see some really sick-looking fields. Some of the soybeans look really kind of wilted, yellow. Corn has the curled up leaves and not making any grain. Then you drive by his field, and it's lush, green, always looking good. He has the nicest looking fields in the whole valley. And I asked him what's his secret, and he said 30 years of no-till farming. So there you have it. I mean, it works. Try to do that if you can. If you absolutely can't, I realize that a food plotter isn't going to go out and buy a seed drill. But I don't have a seed drill. But I drill a lot because I hire guys who do have a seed drill to come and drill my stuff in. You can also borrow seed drills. You can pay a farmer to drill your stuff in. You can borrow a seed drill from your soil conservation service a lot of times. In most counties around here, you can borrow one for like $45 an acre or something like that, and they deliver it to your place. So there's no excuse not to find a way to seed drill. Worst comes to worst, last year I did about this same time, I did a video about my friend John and I went out to one of his fields. We put a little bit of seed down and we just took our trucks and we ran everything over. just mashed it all down into the ground and got a pretty good stand. And he works a swing shift, so he comes in at 3 o'clock in the morning and his headlights are shining on that field and he sees tons of deer out there. And that was only an acre. He's got 10 acres of pasture out there, so they're all the deer are focused on that 1 acre that we worked on. We got, I think that video is called No Seed, No Equipment, No Problem or something like that. We used the seed that was already there in crimson clover that had dried off and the seed was ripe, so all you have to do is run that down and it seeds itself back in. There are more than one way to skin a cat. Now, let's say you have a disc harrow, but you don't have anything else, you're determined to use that thing. Well, one thing you can do is use it to just kind of mash everything down and go into the soil just a little bit, just to get it a little bit of mineral soil exposed, so that when you put your seed down, it'll be in contact with the soil. And then you want to cultipack that. Now, you can go to an auction and buy a cheap cultipacker. You can, like I say, run your fields down with a vehicle. You can cut down a pine tree that you don't like and drag that around. I've done that on skid trails many times. You hook it up to a log skidder at the end of the job, put your seed on the skid trails and drag the pine tree up and down the skid trail. You get a beautiful stand of grain and clover. If your soil is sandy, you need even more organic matter. So it's even more important to have living roots, plenty of organic matter, never exposing the soil to the sun. If you want to go over some species, I wrote a list. This is by no means everything that could possibly grow in dry conditions, but these are some of the plants that I have experience with. So sunflowers are good. You want to plant them in a good inch so they can get moisture. Milo is a good plant. Well, any of these cereal grains, milo, wheat, oats, barley, sorghum, are all good for hot, dry weather. Cowpeas, when we go outside, I'll show you some cowpeas that, it hasn't rained here hardly at all this summer, and cowpeas are looking good. Red clover is better than other clovers in dry conditions because it puts a deeper root system down. Alfalfa, same thing. Alfalfa is terrific for dry weather. Chicory will put down a root like a big carrot. It goes down pretty far, gets down to the moisture. And I've seen deer, like a dry October, I'll be out hunting and I see a deer come into a food plot and just pick the chicory out of there because it's the most lush plant out of everything that's in there. Clover this time of year doesn't look so good, and it's not very palatable. So if you have chicory in your clover, then they have something to eat. Also, I use awnless wheat and oats, and this time of year, deer will be in a food plot that has ripe seeds and they'll just start eating the heads off. Turkeys will get those too. You can also run over that and get that to reseed. I don't hardly recommend that because I want those seed heads to be available to the wildlife. So if it all works the way it's supposed to work and the deer come in and they eat all the grain off, then you end up with just a bunch of dried out wheat stems, and then you could just run that down or just leave it alone, whatever, and it'll fall down and can create a mulch for you. So when you put your fall food plot in, you have mulch there. Moving on, we have hybrid rape, which I've always had good luck with. That's another plant that will drill down and get to the soil moisture. Collards are good in the summertime as well. Not quite as palatable as the hybrid rapes, but it's an excellent plant. Mung beans and sun hemp, they're a tropical plant, so they like the hot weather. If you plant some of these things, if you plant them too early, like sun hemp, they won't make it. cowpeas as well. You know, some of these plants, they like cool weather. Your legumes, your small seeded legumes like the cool weather, and brassicas. But sunflowers, cereals, sun hemp, mung beans, that's all hot weather. Taking a look at this, there's, I believe, 13 plants here. Why not just mix them all together? Put them all in. Plant them when it's 65 degrees. These babies will make a lot of food in your food plot. They'll grow in the summer. And then you want to terminate that in the fall. And then go with your wheat. You can put in some leftover soybeans you can probably pick up real cheap to keep deer feeding on. They're going to focus on those new soybeans and kind of stay off of your clovers and your brassicas. So in the fall you want to put wheat, clover, chicory can go in the fall or spring in your brassicas. So those are your cool weather plants. You don't want to plant, going back to timing again, you don't want to plant your wheat too early because it'll get Hessian fly and it'll eat your wheat. You get plants where if you have a lot of crickets or grasshoppers, they'll eat up your wheat, and you'd be surprised how much grasshoppers can eat when you get thousands of them in your field. So you want to wait until it's cool. Also with brassicas, if it's too hot out, you'll get flea beetles, and it looks like you shot it with a shotgun. And if it's real hot and dry, the leaf gets real leathery, especially turnips, and they're just not palatable. So I see people all the time, like on the internet, saying, is it too late to plant a food plot? Well, it's freaking July, man. Why are you thinking about planting a food plot in July? Now, I did do one last week, and you may have seen that video, but that was a new food plot that we just made. And we had to put some seed on there to prevent erosion, number one. Number two, we wanted to get some kind of a plant there to start working on that organic matter and get the soil built up, get something growing, start getting the deer habituated to it. But I don't expect it to grow in anything great. We put a lot of oats in there. Oats will probably, you can grow oats in the back of your pickup truck. But we will plant that again come Labor Day, and that'll get drilled in with a whole new food plot mix. So I wouldn't try to plant your food plots. I mean, if you have a failure or something like that, just wait till fall. If they're not looking too good, they're looking sick, start studying up on things like. Let me pick out a book for you. There's a book by Lowenfeld. This one is Teeming with Nutrients, but there's one just like this. It's called Teeming with Microbes. I don't know what I did with it, but check this out. I'll put a link to it down below. If you have any ideas or questions, or if you want to get a list of food plot seeds that are resilient to drought, shoot me an email. My link is in the description. You can email me. And that's about it for the indoor lecture. Let's go outside, and I'll show you some plants that I just kind of threw around in my yard, and you can see how the difference is between my yard, which is not growing, it's all dried out, and these beautiful lush plants. All right, meet you outside. Okay, you can see how dry the grass is here. It's pretty much brown and kind of burned off. It's not growing. I haven't mowed it in a couple weeks, but I did mow it a couple weeks ago, and I took my weed whacker and I had a bunch of stuff growing right in here. I had thrown some cover crop seeds on. My wife made me cut them. This is red clover that is left over from that. So consider that it hasn't rained more than about a half an inch in the last 2-3 weeks, and I mowed it off. It came right back. It's very soft and lush. The deer could eat that. It's very tasty looking. And yeah, red clover is very drought tolerant as opposed to white clover, which kind of likes it a little more moist. It's a great option for any food plot. The next plant is chicory. Chicory is something that you can mix with red clover to get a really resilient food plot. Look at how nice this chicory is. Came up beautiful after I mowed it. I had chicory plants. I wanted to see what they would do, and I had some over there by the stone wall that were about 5 feet tall. I cut them off a couple weeks ago and they came right back. This is some sort of sweet clover. Looks like it has a mildew on it. Doesn't look good. Okay, so look at this chicory over here. Wow. That's a nice plant. I have seen deer stand in a clover plot that has chicory mixed in with it and only pick chicory out of that food plot. Here's where I sprinkled a little of my food plot seed. You can see some oats there, and brassica and clover. It's all doing quite well. Here's a native plant, pokeweed. Pokeweed is a pretty common, I don't know how far south it goes, but it's pretty common in Pennsylvania. You see it a lot. This one got pretty stemmy, but when it's young, deer really like to eat the leaves off of it. The birds really like to eat the purple seeds, the fruits, when it comes out. So that's a good one to have around. Alright, this is my new favorite plant. I started planting cowpeas a few years back. And what I like about cowpeas is that, as you can see, I'll just pull one up here. No, I can't. The ground's too hard. A lot of stems on there and a lot of nodes. So if a deer comes along and he pulls this leaf and branch off and eats it, another leaf will come out and regrow. So they're very resilient to browse, and they can handle hot, dry weather. Believe it or not, I did not plant these. They are left over from a cover crop from 3 years ago. I put the cover crop in. The following year I planted sweet corn. The sweet corn got to be beautiful sweet corn with no fertilizer. And cowpeas volunteered in, and they climbed up the stalks and got just as tall as the corn did and made a heck of a lot of volume. I have a food plot planted right now that is corn and peas. Now this is the third year, and they reseeded back in again, and to be fair, I did give this a little bit of water because I planted sweet corn early and did not grow, so I quit watering it. But these peas haven't had any rain on them for a month, and they're looking just fine. And once they canopy over, you can see how much shade is on the ground right now. Here's my leftover corn cobs. It's dry down there, but it's cool. I saw a soybean field just the other day. I went to see a client. He had soybeans planted in a clean field with no cover crop and no armor on the soil, and that soil was as hard as a brick. I couldn't penetrate it with anything, and the soybeans were looking pretty shabby, not surprisingly. So you see where I'm going with that. I'm always preaching cover crops, having armor on the soil, roots in the ground at all times, and lots of organic matter. So that's kind of the tour of what's growing out in my yard. There's sunflowers down there too. That's a good one. But you know, I had been watering that because it's actually in the garden. So that's not a fair comparison. One of the things we can do to make food plots more resilient is to put an electric fence on once we have this situation here. This is a good clover plot, but it's all chewed down. The weather's real hot and dry, so it's not growing any clover. There's little bits of it here and there. But you'd be shocked at how once I fence the deer out of here and we get a few shots of rain and some cool weather, it'll bounce right back. I'll also put some brassicas on here for the fall and keep the deer off of it all the way probably until late September, or you know, when it looks good. I mean, this is down to lip high right now, and it'll get knee deep by October. This land is so dry and hot right now, I can't even get my stakes into the ground. I can go about an inch. Oh man, it's rocky too. So all right, I'm gonna get started on that, and I'm gonna time lapse it so you can see how this works. That's about it. I still have to put some finishing touches on there, but there's a 3-wire fence around. It ain't pretty, but I think it'll do the trick. Let me turn this around. Basically all I do is go knee high on the outside fence, 3 feet over, and then 2 fences at different heights from the first one. That way, when you look at it from here, you come and you get zapped on the nose, and you're like, man, I gotta jump over that. But then you can't because you're not really sure where that back fence is, and you're afraid. So that's what keeps the deer out, is the electricity, not the fence. All right, so hopefully that'll green up. This is my old fencer. One of these days I'll replace it with a nice small one. This thing weighs a ton because it has a deep cycle marine battery in it. This is my copper ground rod, and I will tie that to the fence with a piece of wire, and then I'll be grounded. All right, so gotta have a good ground, and the more wire you have out, the more ground you need. This thing is really tall, but it's really rocky here, so that's all the further I could get it pounded in. You can also you can bury those sideways in the ground too. Just get them down deep enough if it's real stony.